These are words that need to be spoken. They may be disturbing to some, just wanting to put a disclaimer here in that, and also this is raw, this is fucking real, this is vulnerable, and this needs to be said. This morning, I woke up deeply disturbed, sick to my stomach, rolling around in bed, filled with incredible amounts of sacred rage and disgust. Last night before bed, I discovered the CNN expose on the online rape networks that has been circulating. Communities of men, millions of them, sharing tactics, encouraging each other, even violating their own wives. The women that they've built lives with, that they have children with, that they have a family with, that they sleep in bed next to every night. This is not some fringe event. This is not isolated. This is systemic. We need to look at what is happening all at once and not turn away. The investigations and the documents continuing to surface around powerful networks linked to exploitation and abuse, public figures and officials that are stepping down amid sexual misconduct allegation, global leaders on record speaking about women's bodies as something to take without consent. And at the same time, millions of people are consuming content that normalizes violence, objectification, and domination. This is not random. This is a pattern and a cultural collapse that is revealing itself. Because when something is this widespread, when it is this normalized, when it is this hidden in plain sight, this is a system that has allowed this to exist and persist, and has even encouraged it and cheered it on through toxic patriarchal entrainment. A system that protects power more than it protects our bodies. A system that minimizes harm until it can no longer be ignored. A system that conditions us to look away or argue over details instead of facing what is right in front of us. This despicable, disgusting display of our humanity. The base levels of the shadows of our humanity. And this is what it looks like when the truth starts breaking through all at once. The question is this really happening? No. What are we going to do now that we can see it? Now that we can no longer ignore it? What we knew was there, just bubbling under the surface. And I want to name this rupture clearly. This is what happens when a culture loses its relationship to the sacred. When women are no longer seen as sovereign beings, when the body is no longer holy, when intimacy is stripped of reverence, violence fills that void. This is not about individual men making horrific choices that defile their vows and their families and the sacred container of marriage. This is about a fucking system that has normalized domination for centuries. A system that has burned women as witches, that has silenced feminine wisdom, that has replaced earth-honoring traditions with control-based religion, that has used women's bodies as territory in war, that has turned our bodies into something to be conquered, that has treated the earth herself as a resource to rape and extract from. The same consciousness that violates women is the same consciousness that is destroying our very planet. Our only home here in this universe. This is why women's pain is dismissed in medicine. This is why conditions like my lipedema go misdiagnosed for decades. This is why we are gaslit and pathologized and told we're too much, too emotional, too hysterical. Are you having anxiety? Here, have an anti-anxiety pill. Why something like perimenopause, a profound biological and spiritual transformation and initiation, is treated like an inconvenience. This is why so many women spend decades feeling like something is wrong with them, when what's actually wrong is the system that we are inside of. Because when a system disconnects from the sacred feminine, it stops listening, it stops caring, it stops protecting. And that is what is so painfully clear in this expose around online rape academies and the culture of men that are literally drug abusing their wives and videoing it for entertainment. The sacred feminine is not weak. It is not passive. She is life force. She is intuition. She is creation. She is the body's wisdom. She is the earth. And when she is violated repeatedly, everything collapses. This is an unsustainable, cannibalistic system that is literally eating itself. And what hit me the hardest reading this is that this violence is happening inside intimate, committed relationships, inside marriages, inside the sanctity of homes, without their knowledge or consent. This is betrayal at the deepest level. The place that is supposed to be safe becomes the place of violation. And when violation becomes entertainment, this is a culture in serious fucking collapse. This is beyond sick dysfunction. And I want to call out the shadow brotherhood here, because this is the part that we must face. I am in the sisterhood world, the sacred sisterhood world. We are gathering, we are doing our work, we are healing, we are diving into the shadows. But the sacred brotherhood is barely existent. And when that shit disappears, distorted shadow brotherhood rises in its place. Gangs, online forums, spaces where men bond not through truth or integrity or healing or initiation, but through domination and degradation and violence. This is not masculinity. This is uninitiated, unaccountable shadow. And this is toxic as fuck. The lack of rites of passages in our world has led to distorted masculinity. Men are not inherently violent, but uninitiated men are dangerous. Ancient cultures had rites of passage. Boys became accountable men. We no longer have that thoroughfare. In modern culture, there is no initiation, there is no mentorship, there is no emotional literacy. So men are seeking belonging, which they are desperate for, in distorted spaces like this. They are finding community in spaces of violence and domination culture. So we can't just blame men. We also have to look at what happens when men are never shown how to hold power with integrity, when they are sold a toxic patriarchal system that is built on abuse and violence and control over and over and over again for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They see it in entertainment. They see it in culture. They see it in the workplace. They see it in our fucking government at the highest level. What do we expect is going to happen? We need sacred brotherhood back. Spaces where men call each other up, not deeper into shadow. To the men watching, find or create spaces that demand your fucking integrity. This is your moment, not to feel guilty, but to take responsibility, to take a stand, to step the fuck up, to look at your brothers, to interrupt harmful conversations, to refuse to participate in spaces that degrade women, and to do your own shadow work, to reclaim what it actually means to be a protector. Not of control, not of power, but of life itself. We need fierce accountability, discernment, and justice now. And it is time for you to step up, not in some abstract future, but now in the way that we speak and lead and parent and love and hold each other accountable right now. I am no longer available for silence around this. I am drawing a line, a sacred, immovable no. The violence against women, to the normalization of harm, to the conditioning that tells us that this is just how things are. No more. This ends. This is why I do what I do, to support women and reclaiming their power, their sovereignty, their connection to their bodies. because of this despicable world and condition that we are living in. I help them to create spaces where the body is safe again, where we can come home to ourselves so we can sparkle shamelessly in a world that has constantly tried to dim us, oppress us, drug us, hold us down. I do this work so that we can live again, fully expressed, fully alive, fully ourselves. A great sacred feminine reclamation is needed now and a sacred revolution, but we also need a sacred masculine reclamation. There is a reason that I named my oracle deck the Sacred Revolution. It will take all of us to create the new paradigm. Because this isn't about healing individuals. This is about ending cycles of violence, of extraction, of domination and control that create deep desacralization and disconnection. Because the desacralization didn't just happen spiritually with religion and the distortions of dogma. It was built into systems. It was reinforced. It was scaled. It was industrialized. Patriarchy is not men in power. It is a world view. It is the values that control over connection, dominance over relationship, extraction over reciprocity. And when that worldview is merged with the rise of industrialization, we didn't just change how we worked, we changed how we relate to life itself. Everything became something to optimize or produce or extract from. The earth, the body, women, time, energy, all of it turned to resources. And a world that treats everything as a resource will eventually justify using anything. Like our wives, sleeping at night in bed, drugging them, raping them for entertainment. This is how we got here. This is the same consciousness that allows a man to see a woman's body as something for his use. Not a living, feeling, sovereign being, but something to take from. This is why the porn industry thrives on escalation and objectification. And why the medical system treats symptoms instead of honoring the whole body. And why women's pain is minimalized and ignored. Because a regulated, embodied, connected human is much harder to control. And women who have reclaimed themselves and their power are dangerous to a patriarchal system that is ready to burn. A disconnected human is profitable. A disconnected human consumes more, questions less, feels less, and tolerates more harm. There are entire industries making billions off of your disconnection from your body. This new reveal is literally about drug-assisted abuse. This is showing how a disconnected body is easier to control, easier to medicate, and easier to exploit. This has been happening for centuries right underneath our fucking noses. And this system doesn't just live outside of us. It lives in our nervous system, in the chronic stress, in the chronic illness, in survival mode, in the disconnection from our sensations. And this is what happens when we are shaped by a world that prioritizes output over aliveness. And when you combine disconnection from the body and conditioning towards domination, you get exactly what we are seeing. Not by accident, but as an inevitable outcome. But here's the truth that matters, and what I really wanted to say today. Because what was built can be dismantled. And the way we dismantle it is not just by fighting the system out there, but by refusing to abandon the sacred within ourselves. Reconnection is resistance. Embodiment is rebellion. Reverence is revolution. Coming home and loving ourselves is how this ends. With how we raise our children, with what we tolerate in conversations, with how we treat our bodies day to day, moment to moment, with how we show up in relationships. We don't just talk about sacredness, we live it. We hold each other accountable to it. This is a sacred reckoning, and the era of silence is over. And I am saying this clearly today, here now, for myself, for my body, for women, for the earth, for girls, for LGBT bodies. I do not consent. I do not consent to systems that normalize violence. I do not consent to the objectification of bodies. I do not consent to silence in the face of harm. And this is not just my voice. This is a remembering that is waking up in so many of us now, a line being drawn, not from hatred, but from devotion to life itself. May we remember, may we awaken, may we take a stand and live a committed life. Don't just scroll past this. This is the new moon in Aries with more fire than we have ever seen in our lifetime stacked together. Claim your life. Take a stand. Do what matters. Channel your sacred rage and your life force energy towards the new paradigm, towards transformation, to saying no. Aries is our boundaries. It is that sword of discernment that cuts through the illusion and says, no, I do not consent. Not now, not ever.